my name is Donna, also known as Donna Janel, CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether it's single moms, married, single dads, whatever it is, foster parents, whatever, just bringing the ownership and responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. All parents need some help and guidance, and I'm just here to be a guide. Yep. Oh, the mic. Oh, there you go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel. You know my goal, my aim, what I want to do for y'all is bring up the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. As you know, parents are bows and our children are arrows. They will land wherever we aim them. Now, I tell you, I put this disclaimer out. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow, but eventually they will land wherever we aim them. I mean, parenting is not for the weak. I keep telling you, it's a hard knock life out here for parents, and it's very challenging. But, you know, I always think that whenever we put a seed in something, it doesn't produce fruit right away, right? The seed has to go on the ground, it has to be broken, it has to be cultivated, and then it will bring forth fruit. So that's the same thing with our kids, right? We sow seeds in our lives, and eventually that seed has to be broken, and they have to live life, because life be lifing out here, and they have to live their own life with their own challenges and things like that. And then out of the things that we put in them, the seeds that we put in them, they will produce much fruit eventually. I'm always going to say eventually, because as you guys know, I have 4 kids, and I'm dealing with 2 that are about to be 16, one that's about to be 18. Monday and Tuesday, 16 and 18. Just bear with me. We probably should take a moment of silence for that, because I'm dealing with the teenagers, right? So, you know, I always come in here with a story every week about what the one that tests my inner gangster. This time it wasn't the one that's testing my inner gangster all the time, y'all. It was not her. It is the one that's going to be 18 on Tuesday. You know, 18 is such a number where you're trying to figure out, you're graduating from high school, you're going ahead and go do other things, and you kind of get scared, you kind of get nervous. You know, she's geared up to go in the Marines, but she kind of getting a little cold feet, right? She's like, oh, I don't think I could do this. I'm not sure I could do this. Maybe I'll take a year off. And you know, Mama Bear, once you said take a year off, my eyes got big, and I was like, ain't no way you're going to get out of my house if you think you're going to take a year off, right? So this has literally been the heated conversation for the last week with me and my 18-year-old. And it has been like, it humbled me. It was teaching me some things, because I'm like, you know, I'm all for education. I'm all for going better yourself, you know, because that's just what I do. And as a mom, though, you got to kind of figure out how you can best help your child at that time, right? Because life is in seasons, right? So, you know, for a long time, she's already enlisted. She's in a pre-program. It's just that at first I was really upset. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I was so mad. I was like, what do you mean you're taking a year off? People don't take a year off because they don't go back for a long time. And then she was just trying to tell me some things, and I wasn't listening to her. I wasn't listening to her because I had this idea of what she's supposed to be doing. Stick to the plan. Well, after days and days and days, and we're having this conversation, and finally I actually listened to her. And listening to her, it was more of kind of like nervousness and fear, you know, fear of the unknown, not sure, you know, you're a girl, you're going into the Marines, you're just not sure what's going to happen. And as a mom, I had to like coach her, because I know what's in her. I've seen her overcome so many different challenges in life. You know, this is the one who both parents are deceased, right? So I've been raising her for 10 years, and I see so much in her, and I understand of her fear. So like a mama did, I gave her a hug. We broke down crying, and then she realized, like, I can really do this. Because sometimes we got to remind our kids of the things that they've been through already to let them know that they can overcome and go to the next step. Like, you're a conqueror. You've been through so much, right? But at first, I'm not going to lie, I was going off, y'all. I was not, you know, I told y'all I have a dump temper charger, walking around the house, start screaming, and like, I can't believe this is going on. But took a deep breath and actually had a conversation. So it was just that one that was challenging this week. So today, I just had to share that little story with y'all. But today we're going to talk about something very important. You know, health and wellness is dear to my heart. You know, as you know before, I have experienced 3 strokes in my life, and all in the same day, and was in rehab, paralyzed on my left side, and really out of just taking care of everybody else and not taking care of myself, I ended up in that position because I wasn't taking care of myself. I thought I had to be the superhero in everybody else's life and just never was my own superhero. So health and wellness has really been deep in my heart because a lot of parents, that's what we do, and particularly moms. Like, we're out there doing. So tonight, guests, we have Dr. Kim Rogers. Thank you for coming to the show.
For inviting me.
And we're going to get into it because a lot of times we talk about health, but we kind of really don't talk about wellness. It's like, you need to be healthy. You need to be healthy. You need to be healthy. And we don't really talk about wellness. So I'm excited about the conversation tonight, just to hear what we have to say. Because I think sometimes, like I said, we as parents, we don't really kind of think about ourselves. We think about everyone else.
I see too much of that and the consequences of that as a doctor. So, that's kind of what I want to get into today too, for sure.
All right. Yeah. Well, Dr. Rogers, tell us a little about yourself.
So my name is Dr. Kim Rogers. I don't know if I'm supposed to be
looking at you. You can't. You can look at me, because it's going to pick you up, so it's okay.
So I'm Dr. Kim Rogers. I am an internal medicine physician, and I practice primary care. I'm also board certified in lifestyle medicine and obesity medicine. So I have a private practice, a solo practice in Wilmington, Delaware, called Restore MD Medical and Wellness. And in that, I practice, it's primary care, but it also focuses on lifestyle modifications, and it specializes in medical weight loss as well. So all of my patients, get the benefit of that kind of holistic approach.
Right.
And I see, that's where I kind of have a lot of these conversations about wellness, because part of the reason why my practice, I wanted to be medical and wellness, is that a lot of times we're focusing on these numbers, these like health numbers or blood work, but you can be healthy technically, but are you well?
Right.
So that's a little bit about me.
Right. Okay. That's good. I for so long, all you see a lot have been just says health, good health. Mm-hmm. Can you break down health and wellness for us, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously there's a lot of overlap, but for me, when somebody talks about health, so let's say, okay, you go to the doctor, your blood pressure is normal, you go and you get your labs and your labs are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Are you healthy? Okay, maybe on paper you look healthy.
Right.
But when it comes to wellness, I think about that more in a broader sense of how are you feeling? How are you like mind and body and spiritually? It's really kind of that whole body, like whole person approach.
Right.
And I think that is the place that I think we don't focus on enough, because we live in this society where like everything is go, and we're too busy to focus on ourselves or like to have that introspection on like how you're feeling, like checking in on like how you're doing, and especially as parents, right? Like I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, so I'm in a little bit of a different stage than you are, but still in the thick of it.
Right.
And you spend so much time trying to like you said, aim them the right way and do all the things for them and then for your whole family, that you're not spending a lot of time like checking in on yourself. And so that's where like for me the wellness part of it comes in.
Right. I like that checking on yourself. Like, growing up, I've never even heard somebody say checking on yourself. And I've never even seen people, quote unquote, checking on themselves. I just seen them do. You got to work, you got to work. You don't work, you don't eat.
I think a lot of that is cultural too, because there is a wellness movement that's happening, but you tend to see like a certain demographic of people in the wellness space, and I think that part of what I always try to promote is like the average person should be focusing on wellness too. It's not just going on yoga retreats and going to the spa. Like that's one aspect of wellness, or like taking a bunch of supplements, but wellness can be just as simple as day-to-day doing something that gives you joy, something that relieves your stress, something that like boosts you, emotionally and spiritually, and then also physically, because there's so many different aspects of health. And too many times we just focus on like one of those things, but there's so many.
Right. I think a lot of times we see diet and exercise get pushed in our face a lot, which you have to have a good diet and you have to exercise because it's good for your brain too and your body. But a lot of times we don't hear like, how are you as a person doing?
That's exactly right. I think sometimes it's like you go in, you see the doctor and they ask you the checkbox questions, like, are you eating okay? I mean, that's even if they ask you that, because that's not always something that people get. Like, are you eating right? Are you exercising? Okay.
Yeah.
But that's part of what I learned in lifestyle medicine. So that's kind of like a different approach where we are focusing on lifestyle modifications as part of the healthcare experience. So, a lot of times people will complain, like when they go to the doctor isn't necessarily asking them questions about like who they are as a person. And a lot of that kind of lifestyle assessment is you get so much information about people. So, what I have learned to do, especially on the first visit with a lot of my patients, I go down that whole like lifestyle assessment. So so of course we talk about nutrition, but not just are you eating healthy, because what does that even mean?
Right. I was going to say, because
like what does that even mean? Eating healthy. And a lot of people think they're eating healthy, but when you kind of break it down, it's not so great. And then it's like, okay, are you exercising? But then what does that mean?
Right.
Because exercise can mean a lot of different things. Somebody can have a physical job that's exercise, or somebody can be on their feet all day, but that's not necessarily exercise. And then, I also get into things like, how's your sleep? How's your stress level?
Part.
Like, what are your social connections like? You learn a lot about people by asking questions about, who do you live with? Like, what's your family life like? What are sources of stress to you? I love that question, because that's when you really get to know what is in the mind of that person. Like, what is causing. A lot of times people don't come out the gate saying, I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling whatever. But if you ask them, then you'll get the real story. And so I think that's always one of the things that I think we should be focusing on more, is just like, checking in, like, what is your state? Because a lot of times, I can see people like just physically tense, tight, just ramped up, and a lot of times people don't even realize it, but they're coming in talking about, I got muscle pain, I got pain in my neck, I can't sleep. And it's just, at the end of the day, when you ask those questions, it's like that person is under so much stress for whatever reason. It's work, it's kids, it's whatever. And sometimes when you point that out, that's when people are like, what? That's probably true. But people don't always make that connection between how they're feeling physically and like how they're feeling mentally. But it's really important to kind of like see. And I'm saying this as somebody who sometimes I don't even recognize when I'm stressed. Like, I know that I'm stressed when I start getting headaches in the back of my head, because my neck muscles get really tight.
Right, yeah.
Or like I feel like if I'm like clenching my jaw. So, I hold stress like in these areas, and then I have to check in and be like, okay, well, why am I stressed?
Yeah.
So, and then like, what am I going to do about it? Because that's the other thing too. You can recognize that you're stressed, but what are you going to do about it? And I think that's always the crux of it too, when you're in this situation where you're busy, you're taking care of everybody else every day, like the stresses of life. I always think of it like a pressure cooker. The pressure is building, but like, when are you releasing the steam? And like, how often are you doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because some people, they'll focus once a week. Okay, when I go to church on Sunday, that's my stress relief. Or if I get my like weekly, pedicure, that's my stress relief. But like, what about the rest of the week?
Right. It's like it's something daily you have to do, because I think, we should feel good every day. Like, even though life be life and things happen, but we shouldn't constantly be under so much pressure and stress. And I think we become accustomed to that because this is just the life that we live. We're comfortable with being uncomfortable, in the wrong way, not uncomfortable to get us to the next level, but uncomfortable, but it's still keeping us down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's such a culture, especially like in America. So I'm not American. I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from Anguilla. But I always remember moving here and just there's a different mentality. I think that in some cultures, in the Caribbean, it's not like people are lazy, but I think people also prioritize that work-life balance. People want to enjoy life, and then you come to the States and it's like hustle, hustle, hustle. It's like the hustle mentality, which there's a reason why that could be a good thing, but on the other hand, I don't think that we as human beings are meant to be under like constant stress and grind of life. And I think that the type of culture that we have here is people are under more stress than ever before. And I think I would say even in the since COVID especially.
Oh man, yeah.
Everything kind of escalated, and a lot of so many patients I will see as like new patients. And when you start to figure out when did a lot of things start to derail health-wise, a lot of people can put it back to 2020. When things started to change and the world just kind of went haywire, but there were probably things happening before that that then the pandemic kind of like highlighted. But you can really kind of see this shift where like the wellness shift we just need to go back. Like we need to prioritize. I saw something that said like, let's normalize taking a break.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. I was listening to Pastor Cheryl Brady this morning on my way to school. And what she said was, like, we're not meant to bear fruit every day. And I said, wait, what? She was like, we think that we got to go, produce. And we're supposed to bear. We're not. We're supposed to rest.
That's so true.
And that's the mindset a lot of us have, especially if you've grown up when you didn't have, right? And so you have this mind. I've had this mentality. It's better now, but where I feel like if I don't keep moving, producing, I'm going to drop the bomb, and then it's going to be bad for me and my family. Right. Like I remember, growing up, having to sleep in the train stations in the park. So even as a teenager, so when I became an adult, fully grown adult, married, still was able to hold a job. By then I became a nurse, had a house and a car, everything. But my mindset kept going back to, if this doesn't pan out, I was looking for places for me and my kids to sleep in the woods. Wow. Just because I still had that thing, like I can't go back. So I was like working, doing like multiple, and a lot of us carry multiple jobs because we're just afraid to be without. And then, but in turn, it's like that's killing us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, realistically speaking, we know that like it's just rough out there in general. Like some people have to do multiple jobs just out of necessity. It's just so hard for like the day-to-day things. And a lot of people, I would say job-related stress is always up there. And I always say, like, if I could write you a prescription and quit your job, I wouldn't have to write you a prescription for all the rest of these things, like your blood pressure meds, your anxiety meds, because I've had people that will come back months later and be like, well, you know what? I quit my job, I got another one, and my anxiety is gone.
Wow.
And so a lot of times it's like, well, you can go to the doctor and get all these things that's masking, treating the symptoms, but what is the root cause of the symptoms? And I see it way too many times when it's just life, the stresses of life or whatever are causing people to have the high blood pressure, have the high blood sugar, get the weight gain, have issues with sleep. And then we just kind of feel like that's the way that it is and that we can't do anything about it. But, I'm not a therapist or a life coach or whatever, but I feel like I kind of had to become that in some ways. So like I kind of try to challenge people like, well, is there something that you can change, either about yourself or your environment, because something has to give at some point. And sometimes, I don't want it to be you ended up in the ER. Right? Because, I have situations like that where I'll have patients that, get lost to follow up. I haven't seen them. I'm like, something's going on. They're stressed. They're blah, blah, blah. And then they end up in the hospital because the tipping point happened. The blood sugar is sky high or whatever. And then after that, that's when the priority shift happens.
Right.
And that's when they, make some tough decisions, but then they come out on the other side more well, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, my thing is always like, let's not wait for it to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because you don't always come up on the other side.
Right.
Okay. Like, if you have a stroke, you might not recover from that, right? Like, if you have a heart attack, you may not bounce back from that. So let's not wait until that happens. Like, let's listen to our bodies and listen to our minds and our spirits that, like, you know when stuff isn't right. And so what is it in the environment that needs to change? Is it your mindset that needs to change? A lot of times we kind of put it on ourselves too, right? It's like, I just shouldn't let myself get stressed about this. I shouldn't let it bother me. I see that a lot of times with patients. It's like, I shouldn't be so, like, why am I so tired? Like, can you help me with this fatigue? And something's wrong with me because I just don't have enough energy. And I'm like, well, how many hours of sleep are you getting?
Yeah.
4. Like, what are you, like, you don't have energy because you're tired.
Right. You're just tired. Like, nothing medically wrong with you. You're just tired. Go to bed.
But people blame themselves for being tired.
Wow.
Right? Like,
yeah.
We cannot blame our bodies and our minds for what is happening to us externally that is not supposed to be happening. It's not normal. It's not natural. Like, we shouldn't, like, I know resilience is like a really big, like, buzzword, and yeah, resilience is like super important, but at some point it's like you can only be resilient for so long before you could be a dam for so long, but it's gonna break at some point if you just have water just constantly pummeling you. Like, nobody is superhuman, and I think that we feel like we have to be superhuman or we're not doing a good job at life.
That right there, that part right there is crazy. It is, wow. Like, I just felt that. Yeah, like, you feel like, I always, like, relate that to the fact, because I used to think that it's like, you're not the sacrifice. Like, we're not, like, I think, a lot of times we sacrifice ourselves for everyone else, right? And when it comes to us, it's like, as if, what a doctor said to me when I had the strokes, and I was so stressed, right? I was going to school, taking care of kids, and working. And he said to me, you think that everyone else is more important than you. I said, wait a minute, you don't know me like that, right? And he said, it's almost as if you don't think you're worthy enough to take care of yourself. Like, everyone else around you is more worthy than you, so you're the sacrifice to help these people, but within your own life, you can't help yourself. Like, that's a problem. And I was like, wait, what you mean? And I had to really, because when somebody tell you that, you're like, well, especially for me being a Christian, being a woman of God, for me, it's like, I'm serving, I'm helping, I'm serving, I'm helping, right? But at some point, you can't serve from an empty cup.
That's exactly it.
Like, we think that we're serving everyone else effectively, but we're really not, because we're not effectively serving ourselves.
Yep, it's that guilt. I see that guilt so often with parents or even people that are caretakers for somebody else, whether it's, you're taking care of your kids or you're taking care of, like, sick parents or whatever. Like, people get this sense of guilt when they're trying to carve out time for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why are you feeling guilty about this? You have to, even if you're gonna just shift that mindset to be like, I'm doing this so I can be better for them. But I'm like, you shouldn't have to shift your mindset to that. Just do it because you deserve that for yourself. Not because so you can be a better parent, even though, okay, cool, yeah, you'll be a better parent. But like, what are you doing for you? What are you doing for you? There's nothing selfish about self-care. I reject that. Like,
right.
As somebody who is a parent, like even before I had kids, that was always one of my struggles is because I'm like, I just don't want to get lost and overwhelmed in being a parent and like not being able to like do for me.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to be very intentional about it. Like if you just allow life to happen, you're gonna get you're gonna get lost in all the this and that, like trying to be the best mom, trying to be, make sure the kids are on all these curriculars and this and that.
Right.
And like at the end of the day, like what are you doing for yourself? Like me, I'm somebody that I need time for myself to recharge. I know myself, I'm an introverted person. Everybody might be different. Some people may not need time to themselves. Some people need more time to socialize with their friends or like, do other things. But my challenge is always like in every day, like we should be able to carve out at least a few minutes to do something just for you. And like, I don't like, we always say, we don't have time in a day. There's only 24 hours in a day. I know that.
Right. We got that.
But it's kind of like where you're putting your time.
Right.
You can, to some degree, shift that because what I see happen a lot is we as parents or whatever, we'll say, after I finish blah, 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 then I'll focus on me.
Right.
And then that never happens, right?
Because we're so tired from doing.
We're so tired and something else always pops up.
Right.
And so something that I always, like for example, exercise. A lot of people, we always kind of put exercise, like when I have time, I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to block off an hour and like that's my exercise time. And then things happen and then exercise gets put off. And so my whole thing is like, you have to pencil in exercise or even pencil in this is me time, just the same way how you pencil in I gotta do this for the kids.
Right.
That should be as equal a priority. Like I am gonna block this time off to do nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Or to like read a book or to, go for my like relaxing walk. But that has to be a priority, or else we're just going to keep pushing on the back burner, and then the pressure cooker just keeps rising until we explode.
Yeah, I think as parents, like we feel like we have to. There's not enough time to put all this stuff in our kids, right? We're supposed to be available for them all the time, and I think that. I don't know where it came. Yeah. I was gonna say who. Where did it come from? Like because it's like they're it. Like once you have a child, it's no more about you. And I've heard that once you have a kid, it's not about you no more. Well, actually, it has to be about us because we won't be able to properly, effectively, efficiently parent if we don't take care of ourselves. So I like how you said just take the time out. Like you really have to be intentional with it. And it's crazy because I think about we're so intentional with the things that we really want.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So it's like, why don't we want that? It's because we don't consider it a priority. And like, why don't we consider it a priority? Because society tells us that we should be putting ourselves on the back burner. We should be sacrificing ourselves. And it's almost like this like ideal, that we aim for, that you become so selfless, that is all about like your kids or your spouse or, other people. And that's great, but at what cost?
At what cost?
So I have way too many like mom guilt parents that their kids are all up to date with their dental exams, their pediatrician appointments. This person is years behind on a mammogram. You know what I'm saying? Like just
wow,
like, what are you doing even for your, like, you're not even prioritizing your, like, health maintenance because you're making sure your kids' stuff is up to date. Their stuff is important. Why is it more important than yours?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then if you skip your mammograms and you, God forbid, have breast cancer and now, you know what I'm saying, you're in an advanced stage, then everybody's really in trouble. So
right.
even if you're just looking at it like, I need to be healthy so that I can be a great parent, if that's a mindset that you have to make sure you're getting stuff done, then so be it. But I also reject that we have to have that mindset.
Right.
I just think we should just be able to, like, be our own selves and not get so lost in all of that we kind of lose our wellness.
Right. I think a lot of it is really seeking approval and validation from people. Like, you know, a lot of times we as parents, you know, have this parent guilt, and it's like we gotta please our kids. And I was talking to a group of parents on Tuesday, and one of the things we were talking about is that pleasing our kids. Like, a lot of things that we do is because we want to make sure our kids doing this and doing that. Yeah. And then when even though if we tell our kid not to do something and it gets sad, right? So then now we're feeling the mom guilt or whatever. And I was telling the parents, I was like, our kids don't have to like us. It's okay. I've been parenting for 25 years now, okay? And I'm understanding that my kids don't have to like me, and it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Because somebody still has to provide the structure and things like that. And that's not, you're not going to like somebody who's telling you, like, this is the way to go. Right. But sometimes we get so guilty of that, and we get so weighted by our kids not being happy that we take on that guilt and that stress, because then we become stressed because it's like we can't please our kids, and it's like, but you're not even pleasing yourself. Right. So one
of the big things that I see is the after school activities have gotten so crazy. Like, parents, I mean, literally part of the struggle that I try to have is trying to figure out when people are going to have time to, like, do the self-care, because a lot of stuff I try to work on, you know, healthy eating habits and, like, when are you going to carve out exercise and stuff, and I try to figure out, okay, like, what does your day-to-day schedule look like? And when you hear about some of these schedules and you know, Monday is soccer and Tuesday's piano and Wednesday, and it's like, oh my God, right. We're just like, our whole life is work and shuttling kids back and forth between these different activities. And, like, do they need to be in? I mean, I grew up different, so I think I kind of come from a different perspective, and I feel the pressure, even kind of knowing, like, that's not necessarily how I grew up. I mean, I was in a lot of different things, but it was because, okay, this is what I wanted, not that, okay, my parents felt like we need to sign you up for this and this because, you know, you got to get into a good college, or, like, all your friends are doing this, and if we don't do it, you're gonna get left out. And then these, especially moms, are, like, just coming into the office ragged, right? You know,
wore out,
and it's like, can you give me something to, like, you know, help me sleep, or get, you know, I'm so revved up, can I, you know, I need something for relaxation or anxiety, and I'm just like, you know, I can't fix this. right.
This
isn't a medical issue. This is a lifestyle.
Right.
This is a lifestyle thing, and I mean, it's hard.
It is, and it's interesting you said that, because a lot of times I see people like, isn't there a pill to fix that, or something, like when we were talking about somebody being fatigued? You just need to go to bed. Like, can you give me a pill to go to sleep? Like,
right. No, exactly. It's kind of a catch-22, and I will say, as a doctor, it's a frustrating thing sometimes, because I think that there's a bad rep on both sides. One is that patients come in expecting that there's a pill for whatever, and then on the flip side, I get the complaints, well, all doctors want to do is prescribe medicine. Right. And so it's like, you can't win, right? So, but my practice specifically, you know, is kind of labeled as a health and wellness place, but I think that is attracting, like, the type of patients that, you know, are trying to focus on their health, so that's good. But I think in general, it's just is really, really hard because, you know, I would, if I give you a pill for every single ailment, then you're on 10 medications.
Right.
And then we got side effects and we got all these different things. And then the patient comes back, well, I just feel like I'm like being over medicated. So, but let's talk about like your lifestyle, you know, like that's really what it is. Like, let's talk about your wellness. Like, are you checking in with yourself? Like, do you need therapy? Like, do you just need to go for long walks on the beach more often? Or, you know, are you inside too much and you gotta go out there in nature? I mean, there's so many like small things. And I think that when we think about wellness too, we think that it has to be this like big thing that has to happen. And that's another thing. Is like we think we gotta like go on a vacation, a 1 week retreat, or we gotta sign up for this expensive whatever, or like take all these expensive supplements that you know we see on TikTok or whatever. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. It could just be like really simple things. Like, what is it that gives you joy? And then how can you integrate that into your life to a degree that doesn't, you know, disrupt everything, but it could be like little snippets of time that you do it. But like, I think everybody, and the answer is different for everybody, because you know, for some people it's one thing or another. But it's always like, how are you prioritizing yourself today, even if it's for like 10 minutes? And if you can't think about the last time that you prioritize yourself, then it's a problem.
Right. So how do you get parents to, I guess, to realize that they are so important and like it's necessary to take care of themselves? Like
that's $1 million. I mean,
because if a person like, you know, if we think that everybody else is more important than we are, we're not going to get.
Right. I think it's just challenging the narrative, right? It's like, well, why do you feel that way? You know, because I think we go on this kind of automatic. We don't even think about why we're thinking that way. Like, we don't even recognize it. Like, I don't think anybody's walking around saying, like, I feel less important than everybody else in my family. I don't think a lot of people are saying that or are consciously, like, feeling that, but what are your actions reflecting, right? So sometimes I just, like, point out, well, this is what your actions are reflecting. Like, you're not really prioritizing yourself. So, like, why do you think that is? It's kind of like open-ended questions.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of more like, I can't tell you. Like, you have to come to that conclusion for yourself.
Yeah.
But what I can do is just point out when I recognize, like, something's not right. And then what I try to do is tie it into something important, like your health. So a lot of times, you know, it's not just as easy as to say, well, you need to prioritize wellness. I can say, like, if you don't prioritize yourself, you see this blood pressure, you see this 20-pound weight gain that's happening because you're so stressed, you're eating candy all day long. You see where your, like, insulin levels and your cholesterol are doing. Let's talk about what's going to happen if it continues along this trajectory. Right. And then I know you don't want that. So, like, what steps are we going to take to get us back to where we want to be? And a lot of times it's so overwhelming to think about all the things we need to do. It's just like, let's pick one thing. Let's, like, pick one thing to work on and then kind of build on that, you know?
I like that one thing because it does get overwhelming. It's like, I got, like, all these things that I need to fix about me, right? And then it's like, forget it. I can't do all these things, so I'm just going to keep going about it. But I like the idea of focusing on one thing. I really like the idea where you were saying that I want to circle back to that. Like, a lot of times we think that if we go away for a week, everything is going to kind of get better. It's like, oh, I took that break, but then you come back and then the pressure cooker is still on. And it might even be more intense because what we didn't do for that week, right?
Exactly.
But just little small daily things to ensure our own wellness. You know, one of the things that I do adult coloring.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I got some glitter gel pens.
Yeah,
I love adult coloring because I needed, like, woosah moments. I needed time because the way my brain thinks, again, I'm always on the go. What's the next thing? I got to be better. What's the next thing? And I realized, like, even watching TV, 'cause I don't watch TV, but when I do watch it, like, I'm up here trying to figure out everything that's going on in the show. I can't enjoy a movie Oh, my kids be like, Mom, like, relax. Like, I can't even relax and watch a movie because I'm always like, that's the way my brain is like, I'm always ready to solve a problem. And I realized that, like, when my kids kept saying, listen, we can't watch movies with you. You like, this is, and then you find a message and everything. Like, we can't just chill. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, my kids said that. So I was like, you know what? I need to be able to shut my brain off. Like, because I don't, like, a lot of us don't know how to turn our brains off. Yeah. So I started doing adult coloring. A friend of mine who had passed away, she had started getting me adult coloring books. And I really started enjoying them. So now I probably got about 600 coloring books. Like, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for years.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm constantly buying.
I love that. I bought one once and I never used it.
Oh, I love it.
That's the crazy thing. I had the same idea that you did in, like, I don't know. I don't even know where it is.
So I like especially when things like, now I'm in school, so a lot was going on. But when there's times where I was like, you know what, Donna, you need to shut your brain down. You need to shut it down. And I was like, well, I really can't shut my brain down because I need to study some more of this. And then finally I was like, you know what? So my coloring books are always available now. They're sitting there with the pen so that when I think of it, I'm like, it's here. And then this side is like, well, the computer's here too. And like, I'm going back and forth. But I do this a lot more often now because we got to take a break.
You have to take a break, and you just have to pencil it in sometimes. You just have to pencil it in. That's the only thing I can say is, like, for me, it's maybe like mindless reality TV. And, my husband, he's like, oh my God, you're watching this. And I'm like, listen, leave me alone. This is my self-care. This is me turning my brain off.
Right.
Because, if it's not, there's so much, like, cognitive work to involve in, like, being a mom or being involved, like, the head of the household, running all the stuff. Because it's not just the day-to-day things. You're like, everything's run through your head. Like, are we out of groceries? Like, when is that parent-teacher meeting? Like, what's going on this week? It's just, like, so many things running through your head at any given time. And sometimes you just need time to, like, just shut it off. Yeah. It's really, I mean, and I'm saying this as somebody that is still trying to find that balance. And the other thing that I realize is you're never quite going to find the balance. Like, you're always going to be shifting back and forth. Right. So, like, when I opened my practice last January, for the first year, it was just like, go. And this January, it was also really busy. And then I think February, I hit a wall. And I was just like, I just, like, can't operate at this speed anymore. Right. And so I, like, made some decisions. I, like, block schedule time off, and I changed my calendar to, once every X number of weeks, this day is non-negotiable. I'm not doing anything. Because usually I'll say, Fridays is my admin day, and then it becomes like another patient day because I'm squeezing in people and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But I just decided at least once every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm blocking off this one day and I'm not doing anything. Like work-related, parent-related. I'm just going to, I don't know, walk down the street. I don't know. Go to King of Prussia Mall. I don't know, but it's just going to be like nothing that has to do with work or anything. And that's kind of going to be my little thing. But then I'm still trying to figure out the day-to-day stuff. Right. And when you find a balance, you can find a balance with one aspect, but then something else is inevitably gonna. Right. So it's always like a seesaw. Like, we're always trying to reach that, like, place where everything is like this. But I just think realistically what we can realize in life is that it's always going to be like this.
Life is always moving.
Life is always moving, and life is always evolving. And it's the checklist is never, you can check everything off the list and then there's a whole new list. The list never ends, right? Like the list never ends. So how do we find that balance is always the thing. And the thing is, like, you can't ever find the balance all the time. Right. But you still have to fight to prioritize yourself at some point, because the health consequences are just too high. People, like, I see it all the time. I just see so much health stuff, and then when you tie it into this is because your mind and your stress and this, and people, they don't believe it. They're just saying, oh my god, like I can't believe like this is happening to me just because I'm not sleeping enough, right? Or because I'm under so much stress. But yeah,
wow,
yeah,
wow, wow.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
you're the story for that, right?
Yeah, like I mean, I remember I'm trying to think back, particularly when I had those strokes in 2020. Like, what was my sleep like? Like, it was like nothing. Like, I was working overnight as a nurse in home care. Then I would come in the house in the morning, and a lot of it had because when my sister passed away in 2014, her husband passed away in 2012. She passed away in 2014, and I instantly became a mom of 4. I was a mom of 2, and I had pretty much everything kind of balanced. Yeah. And I was so like making sure that they were okay from both parents being deceased that I literally didn't take care of myself. I mean, like, I was working overnight, and then I would have to be awake during the day because they would call me from school because both parents died of heart attacks, right? Oh, so they would call me in school just to hear my voice, to make sure my heart was still pumping. So I was like up all night, and then I would get an hour's sleep because I would get a phone call, and this was going on like every day for years.
Oh my God.
So I tried to start going to the gym to take care of myself, but then that was like working my sleep time. So definitely making ourselves a priority is so important, and I'm still learning that. I'm a lot better at it now, but I still have sometimes my mindset of I need to do so many different things. Like, I have and this is another thing that I'm telling parents, like, it's okay to have a schedule, have a schedule, but don't fill that schedule up so much where you can't budge. And when something goes off the schedule, you go off, or you can't handle it. Like, we got to learn how to pivot. Like, my bonus mom tells me all the time, you got to be able to pivot. You play basketball, you got to be able to pivot. So don't be so strict on yourself. But the thing about when we're strict on ourselves about other people and other things. We're not strict on ourselves about what I need to do for me. I think around the health and wellness, like making ourselves a priority.
Making ourselves a priority and just picking one thing at a time, because I think people get into this, okay, I know like I need to do better, but I don't know where to start. I hear that. I hear that all the time. I don't know where to start. And so I always kind of say, like, just write it down, like, however you sort things through your mind. I have to write things down to like sort things through my mind. Write on a list of like something that you would like to change or improve for your wellness. And then, pick one, like just say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. Even like healthy eating is a whole process. A lot of times people feel like they have to just wake up and go on this diet and this like overhaul that never works, right? Because it doesn't really fit into your lifestyle, really. It's not sustainable. You can do it for like a month, then you derail, and then you're right back to square one. So a lot of times I'm like, okay, like if we want to focus on nutrition, because like maybe that's an area for improvement. Food is medicine, trying to get to like a healthy weight or whatever. It's like, what's one aspect that you can improve? So I always kind of like to say, like, let's start off with, trying to get more fruits and vegetables, like get more fiber. And then let's look at, what you snack on. I got a sweet tooth, for example. Like, is there a healthier substitution there? So I never try to tell people you can't do this, like stop eating sweets and stop doing that, stop eating at the restaurants. If you like eating at the restaurants and that improves your quality of life, then it's like, okay, is there a shift where instead of doing it 3 times a week, maybe you're cooking more often so you're more in control over what you do? Or when we go to this restaurant, is there a healthier choice that you can make that you still are not depriving yourself, but you're still kind of doing for you? So it's all about like just taking things step by step and not feeling like it's a huge overhaul. Because I always say, like, we didn't get to where we are overnight,
right?
And you're not gonna fix it overnight. And if you fix it overnight, it's too fast. Like baby steps.
It's not gonna be.
It's not sustainable. Like baby steps, you know. So that's kind of one of the things. Because like especially with my weight loss program, you know, you got people that they're on their weight loss journey, and the minute that they decide they want to go on this journey, it's like, I better be losing 10 pounds by next week. Right. And it's like, we didn't get there overnight. Right. Yeah. We're not like, let's kind of unravel it and try to get to like a healthier place. But I think that's also part of the mindset thing too, is just realizing like, the wellness and the health isn't just like a switch that you can turn on. It's like progress, not perfection. You know, that whole like thing. I mean, I didn't make up that phrase. I love it though. But you know, it's progress, not perfection. It's like what are you doing today that's a little bit better than what you did yesterday? Like you can look back in a month. Is your lifestyle a little bit better than it was last month? And then next, 6 months, is it better than it was? So it's just kind of like making those little baby steps, but just being as consistent as possible. And you don't have to be perfect, but it's just about, I guess, like showing up for yourself, right?
Yeah.
A little bit every day.
I like that. Yeah. I like the baby steps because, like you said, things just get overwhelmed and then you just like, forget it, I can't do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So baby steps is, I like, because then you get to live in such a world where we think everything is microwave. Like, this is supposed to happen, Like, nobody wants to put food in the crock pot anymore. Everything is like, I need this right now.
Yeah.
And, but it's not really beneficial for us when it's like that. So I like the baby steps. And I like what you just said, though. You said, show it for yourself. Wow.
I sounded like a life coach just now.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I mean, I didn't. I don't think I made up that phrase either. But it just made
works though, because it's like, when you say show up for yourself, it makes you think like, yo, have I really been showing up for myself?
Right. Yeah. Yep. And don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah. It's a necessity. Like,
you got to do it, man. Like at the end of the day. I see so many people when they're prioritizing, for example, work or whatever, and they have a health issue. You think anybody at work cares about you? I'm sorry, but I literally have seen, like colleagues pass away or people die, and you're gonna get replaced tomorrow, right? Yeah. But if you are running yourself down into the ground. And like, what's going to happen to your family when you're not around because you ran yourself down into the ground, either for them or for some boss or some career or some whatever, like, it's, you just have to kind of think about that. And when people look on, I did a rotation in hospice when I was in residency. And one of the things that, when people are reflecting back on what they wish they did more of in life, nobody ever wished they worked harder. Right.
You're like, I wish I did work as hard.
No, right. Nobody ever wished that they did an extra hour or two at work, or, it's you want to spend more time with your family, or you want to, you wish that you had the opportunity to do this thing that you always wanted to do, like that you never got to do, something on your bucket list that you never got to do for yourself. Like, those are the things that people reflect on. Like, oh, I always wanted to travel, but I just never had time.
Right.
Those kind of things. So I just kind of always try to think back, like in 30 years, when I look back at kind of what I'm doing now, like, am I going to have any regrets about where my time was being focused? And the answer to that might be no, right? Because, the answer is like, this is good for me right now. But like, what are you doing for yourself every day to make your life a little bit better? Not somebody else's life, but like your life.
Right. And I like what you said, because while you were talking, I started thinking about things, make your life better, and not so much of we think what will make our life better, like material things and stuff like that. Because my bishop, he always says that, you never see a house behind a hearse. You never see,
exactly
all these things that we think that we have to work so hard for to get here. And when you die, none of that, the money's not going with you.
Can't take it with you.
Can't take none of that stuff with you. So like, why are we working so hard to get these things, which, you know, we all want to live a nice life, but at the same time, again, at what cost? So just really honing in on the fact that we need to self-prioritize and, you know, realize that, who has this quote? The grave is like the wealthiest place.
I never heard that.
I think Henry Ford might have said that the grave is like the wealthiest place because that's where all the dreams are. That's where people die with their dreams and their aspirations and things that they wish they could have did, and now they're going. So that's the wealthiest place. It's like, well, I don't want my grave to be the wealthiest place. And I also we were talking on talking to the fact about how we should leave our children like things like inheritance and stuff like that. And something came across my mind. I was like, it's a sad thing if we're worth more dead than alive. Like, you know, again, we work to make sure that we want to leave our children something behind, right? So that's another mindset. It's like, I got to get, so that they can have, right? But if you're worth more dead than alive, that's a serious problem.
Yep. And, I would say that we probably think our kids are very materialistic because they're always asking for this and that. But at the end of the day, I would say, if I'm thinking back on my childhood, I don't remember what I got for Christmas or whatever a certain year. But, I remember the time that, I spent with my family. Like, I remember the times when, like, my dad would take us fishing, or we would have picnics on the beach, or we would just like take drives as a family and do stuff. So you think about like the experiences that you have with your family, not necessarily the things that you had. I mean, that's just, I think that's like most of us. So I totally agree with you because we just feel like we have to kind of, give them, I guess, I understand the concept of like generational wealth is important and all that stuff too. But yeah, to your point, like a lot of kids would just want to have more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so important. Wait, it was another thought I had. Dang, I lost it, but okay.
It'll come back to you.
Because as you're talking, things, light bulbs be coming off. See, I told you my brain don't cut out. Like, just listen, Donna, just stop, right? But yeah, time is so important. I think, most kids just want you to spend time with them. Oh, what I was going to say, as we take care of ourselves, as we prioritize ourselves and have self-care, it teaches our kids how to have it for themselves.
Exactly.
Like, I remember when my one, the 16-year, the one that's going to be 16 in a month, the one that tests my inner gangster. She says to me, when she gets in the house, she says she needs like 20 minutes to herself. Okay. And I'm like, what? Because the way I grew up, it's like you come in the house, you do your chores, this, that, and the other. When I come in the house, I'm doing stuff, I'm cooking and all that stuff. And she's just like, no, Mom, like, I need time to myself. And I'm like, you had time on the school bus.
That's not the same.
But she's teaching me, like, really understand it. And it's not like something she said. She's been saying this for years.
Let that girl have her self-care.
I know. And I'll be like, you just don't want to be obedient. You just don't want to do when I say what to do. But learning over time is like, literally, this is what she needs to bring herself down to be ready to do the next thing. And we're so geared of just doing. And she's learned that from me, though, of doing. And she said, listen, I had enough.
Right, so she's like the opposite.
Yeah. She's like, listen, I watch you do. That ain't going to be me. Like, you running around here with your head cut off. Like, no, this is what I need, Mom. And it took me a long time because I'm like, I'm the mom. This is what I said.
Right.
But understanding that, you know what? I need a break, too. So by allowing her taking that break, actually, it helped me realize I could take a break too.
See, there you go. Yep.
I was like, oh, I could take a break. Oh, she could take a break. I could take a break. Like,
right. And is 20 minutes gonna like derail your day? Yeah. Or is it gonna let you like recharge,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So definitely self-care. All right, so it was a lot. We got a lot. We got a lot tonight, right?
Yeah, we did. I can't believe time flies.
Yeah. So closing out, what do you want to leave with the audience? And then this is the time you actually can look in the camera.
The message I want to leave is just that at the end of the day, wellness is so important. And wellness isn't just, are you going for your once a year doctor's checks or like that kind of thing. Wellness is listening to your body, listening to your whole mind, body, spirit connection. And if things are not well, like we got to prioritize ourselves and figure out how to fix that, because at the end of the day, as a doctor, I see the consequences of us ignoring that way too often. And so I really just want to prioritize, like, health is wellness and wellness is health.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank
this was
you
a
for
great conversation.
Me. Yeah, this was
definitely
wonderful.
have to do it again, because I felt like we were just
scratching the surface. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, you heard it from the doc. Prioritize yourself, right? Self-care is so important, because if we can't pour out an empty cup, and we got to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Not taking care of ourselves just for someone else, taking care of ourselves for us, because we are important. We are so important. So thanks you guys for joining Parenting with Purpose again. I am your host, Donna Janel. We'll see you back next week. Everybody, my name is Donna, also known as Donna Janel, CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether single moms,